Good afternoon. My name is Cameron Afzal. I'm the police chief for Dayton Police Department. So we have a little bit of update for you. Right from the get-go, the Dayton Police Department is indefinitely suspending the use of our fixed site automated license plate readers. Back in sometime in October, DPD noticed a higher than expected level of data sharing, and we began to investigate. And just for reference perspective, we had just changed majors, and all people changed positions in June of 2025. So new majors were over their new positions. An internal review revealed that a network sharing feature had been enabled, allowing data to be accessed more broadly than intended, and what was authorized to us by our commission. And I will say about the commission, what they had authorized us, and we worked together on that, was the right usage of this data. And unfortunately, we just did not follow the very thing that we asked for. This does not impact our mobile ALPR data, which is the one in the cars, because that we looked at, that data is locked down. There's no sharing on that. The Dayton Police Department has operated both mobile and fixed site locations since April 2023. We recently also received approval to expand the fixed site ALPR program. However, that will not occur this time. So the timeline. In October, as the new majors took their hold of their positions, the major of the support services, the new major identified a higher than expected level of data sharing. We started looking into it. We realized that our data was being shared with way too many people. So in November of 2025, we disabled the data sharing outside of the state. So only people in Ohio were able to search. The disabled services related to immigration-related information. So that's when we found out that they were looking at our data for immigration purposes. In December 2025, NIBR's offense type required for all searches. So when they were looking for that should have been set up in the first beginning. It should have been set up the right way at the beginning, but we ended up setting it up in December. And in 2026, we realized that even with the discontinuing, we had some that were within the 500-mile radius that had, for some reason, had automated data sharing that had been enabled. So we then disabled in January 2026 all federal sharing. So with any federal agency, whether it's immigration or FBI or anybody else. As of April 7th, all ALPR data sharing with outside agencies was disabled. So as of April 7th, nobody is able to look at our LPR data. If they want information, they can call us, but they're not able to share that, get that information on their own. We have fielded several calls, and I guess this press conference and statement, they'll find out why we did what we did. The investigation over several months determined that approximately 7,100 access requests cited immigration. What that means is that none of these searches were targeted Dayton. So these are mostly, half of them are federal agencies. We found out as part of this investigation that FLOC had a pilot program with the federal agencies. We weren't aware of that. But if we had done our job, it would not have mattered. And other local state agencies were primarily in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, who were requesting information for whatever they were doing. And because our system was open, it actually hit our system. So it wasn't necessarily that they were looking for anybody in Dayton. It was just that they were looking for whoever they were looking for. And because of that, the subjects, and because of their sharing and return of the license plates hit in Dayton. What we don't know, we cannot confirm, is if it was any action taken by other agencies related to any data that they might have hit on in Dayton. Now, we don't even know if there was any hit on data, because we did ask FLOC to say, do you know if there's any, when they were making their inquiries, was any data, any cars actually hit in Dayton? We do not know that. For the reason is because, rightly so, our system is set up that after 30 days, our data disappears. But the audit log remains there. So we couldn't tell if those inquiries, I know we know they hit our system, what we don't know is if actually any hits went back to them. There's no evidence that any of the officers, our officers, misused the system in any way. Many outside agencies conducting searches were hundreds of miles away. Requests originated from various federal, state, and local agencies, both inside and outside of Ohio. So there were a few agencies inside Ohio that did put something related to immigration that we know hit our data. A comprehensive review determined that certain processes required under the surveillance impact report had not been followed. And this is really disappointing for everybody in DPD, in the city, because we work directly with the City Commission based on a lot of the concerns on tightening up the requirements, because our initial report that we had addressed did not address some of those issues. So we went back, and particularly one particular commissioner who worked very closely with us, and we'll tell you with a certain major to make sure that occurred, and none of those things were put in place. So the things that we had were put in place that we were okay with as a department was approval by Support Services Division Commander or designee. So meaning the individual, when they hit it, because they wanted to access data, it needed to require approval before we would allow access. Obtaining signed assurances that data would not be used for immigration enforcement purposes, and then notification to the City Commission regarding data sharing relationships. So that was all things that we thought were appropriate, that the city was asking us to do. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter if it's appropriate or not. City leaders can, rightfully so, they're elected, can say this is how you're going to operate, and our job is to operate that way. And I'm here to tell you that that was not done. The investigation concluded that the former division commander of Sports Services Division failed to implement the safeguards he helped develop and present in the surveillance impact report. As a result of this failure, the commander will no longer serve in the Dayton Police Department. That occurred today. The investigation is ongoing, and we believe an external review will be conducted. There is no criminal investigation associated with this incident as of today. The hits that we get on the ALPR is probably the most innocuous thing that we get, because it's just a tag. We probably have a lot more access to a lot more sensitive information in other systems that we have. But it's still very disappointing, and disappointing would be a pretty mild word. My choice words, I cannot say live on the air, or how I really feel, but it's very disappointing, and disgusting would be another word I would use. We take pride in making sure that we are transparent and earning the maintaining trust of our community, especially in situations where our performance, especially when our performance does not meet that standard expected of us. That's very disappointing, because we take pride in the fact that we know that we are here to serve our community. We are continuing to work to fully understand the circumstances that ensure that similar incidents do not occur in the future. I will tell you that I have probably spoken, I don't know how many times on this issue, either in front of the commission, in front of different groups. I'm an immigrant, as you guys know myself, and I know the potential concerns that a lot of immigrants have with the approach. And I've gone, I don't know how many times, recently it's about a month, that nobody has anything to worry about, right? And that was not accurate. And the particular individual that's no longer working for us wasn't room for several of these talks that I had given. So, again, very disappointed. That's kind of pretty much what I want to tell you. Before I take any questions, I want to hand the podium to our city manager, Ms. Dixon. She has a statement to.
So good afternoon. I want to echo the words that I too am incredibly disappointed. Our city commission went through great lengths working with community representatives to create thoughtful and intentional policy direction that put important guardrails in place to ensure the responsible use of technology within our community. And today, it is very clear that we failed to execute on that direction. While the investigation to date does not indicate intentional wrongdoing or misuse by our officers, as Chief Afsel reported earlier, it does reveal egregious violations of policy and has certainly led to a deterioration of trust within our commission as well as within our community. As a result, I want to be clear that this administration enthusiastically supports an earnest outside review to help us further evaluate and understand the extent of the situation, and also commits to working with the community and the City Commission for however long it takes to create the additional oversights needed to avoid such errors in the future and to rebuild that trust within our commission and our community. So thank you, and I'll turn it back over to the chief for questions.
So one of the things before I take a question, we have, at least I've been a big proponent of people moving people around every so often. It's probably not the most comfortable, and I think if we had not done that in this case, I don't know if one would have found out. But the fact is that we found out ourselves. I would have hoped that the previous commander would have found that and reported it, but he did not. But we still know that somebody found out that, and we did not hide behind it, because it would have been very easy to say, just turn it off, and nobody knows. But that's just not the nature of police officers, and definitely not the nature of Dayton police officers. So I know there'll be a lot to overcome, but the one thing for certain is that when we knew that we had a problem, we kept looking, and we weren't going to look the other way. And to be honest, at this point, going forward, we're also going to look at every action that individual touched to make sure that we don't have any other issues in our department. We're not shortcuts were taken. Law enforcement is not about shortcut. The ends don't justify the means. We got to do the protocol every single time. When we do that, that's what happens. What occurred today. So with that, I will take any questions that you might have.
Chief, I know this is a tough situation. You said it all came kind of. You took action today. Is that action asking for someone's resignation, or was it a dismissal? And then we know what position that person, so you mind just naming that person?
I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to. You guys will figure that out. Give some dignity to the individual. I did not handle that part, so I believe he was. There were three options: resign and get a little bit of a severance, so some medical coverage, retire. They can still retire because they had enough time, or be terminated. So they took the little bit of time so they can at least get themselves situated. So they took that, but we knew that it didn't really matter. They were not going to be here from this point forward.
So the employment is ended?
Yes.
Okay. So you have talk about the impacts, though, the suspension of some of these programs may have on the department.
Yes, it'd be a great impact. The whole reason that we thought this technology was great, was because it provided us. We have a lot of victims a lot of victimization occurs, especially in one part of the town, and the license plate readers provides us with intel, real-time intel, about when somebody's victimized. And not only that, it actually pinpoints the car that we need to look for. So if instead of looking for a sedan, black sedan or dark sedan, and there are hundreds of dark sedans, and stopping hundreds of people, we could then go with this technology, stop the individual that we need to stop, and hopefully, reduce the distrust that certain communities have of us, right? That takes that option away from us. And we understand why we're taking this away. We're doing this on our own. We're not waiting for a commission to tell us, suspend this program. We just think it's the right thing to do now. But yeah, for the foreseeable future, this will definitely have an impact. Our police officers are pretty innovative, so we were able to solve crimes before we got LPRs, and I'm sure we'll do that again. It will take us a little longer to do that, and that it might mean, hopefully not, but the technology helps us stop the right individuals at the right time instead of stopping people that just happen to be the wrong place at the wrong time, and that we're going to have to figure out how to overcome that.
And then, Chief, the other thing I have for you is that I don't want to say you went out on a limb, but you believed in this program, and you assured many in the community about how it would be used, because you were convinced that you would set up those guidelines and guardrails, and then to find out that the people that were supposed to be following those didn't, how much of a betrayal does that feel to you?
It personally feels a lot because there was a lot of trust put in. I mean, I talk about all the time that, I trust my officers. We give them a deadly weapon, and I trust them to use it appropriately. So why wouldn't I trust somebody to do something the very thing that they're the ones who are in front of commission and talking about it? So, but that's a lesson learned also for me, how to moving forward as to what to do, and it's not to hopefully create a atmosphere of distrust among ourselves, but to be honest, now it's double check, triple check. Another thing is, to be honest, is letting our commission down, letting elected leaders down who dealt with a lot of pressures from community members, and then still okay the technology that was probably not the most popular, or there were a lot of people, a lot of voices that were very, very loud. I'm not sure that that popularity was on the side, but they were definitely very, very loud. And to be honest, at this point, I can't blame them because we're proving them right. We didn't follow a simple thing, because when we disabled that, it really was one switch, we hit that and it was disabled. It really wasn't that hard. I know that some of the things that we had in there did require us to do some work, but that's not the answer to take a shortcut. It did require that for each case there, each agency coming up, that we had to do certain things. Right? Going forward, if we are able to get this back, to be honest, one of the things we have talked about internally is that we can't lose at the big sight, the big picture of that. What we're really concerned about is crime in our community. So if this, after all the auditing is done, somebody come from outside and we gain the trust back, it only will be open for internal review. And if anybody from outside wants to come in, for each case, they will have to show us in writing as to why they're doing it. So we'll slow the process down, but I think that's the thought that we had. And then to doing audits on a monthly basis. And that's time consuming, but I think we would need to do that. And I'm also, I also want to look at other things that we had access to a lot more sensitive information, and make sure that all systems that we have there, we're double and triple checking those systems to make sure this never occurs again. So yeah, there's disappointing. It's just not at a personal level. I've been trying to be pretty transparent, try to talk to people, but it's also the fact that I had 5 people that I've given in front of as recently as not too long ago, saying all this stuff that people are talking about, that's not true. Come on, you know what we agreed upon and what you told us, and the individual was sitting in their room when I said that. So very disappointing.
Who did the investigation once you realized you needed to do an investigation?
So Deputy Chief Henderson and Major Hall did different things, because Deputy Chief Henderson dealt with the major, and then Jason Hall did the other stuff as to what else was going on, and that's still continuing. But the underlying thing is that the setup was wrong. So I'm not sure how much I can hold anybody else accountable. If they were operating under the rules that were given to them, and they did, all information that we have one question. We'll see about that. But if you're not given the right guidance, you can't really hold somebody else lower end responsible if the person at the top is not giving the right direction. And right direction that we worked on together, the commission and that individual worked on together to come up with. So,
Chief, you may have already said it, but are there any target dates to which you realized that this was happening? And was there any date after the cameras were implemented? How long of a time span was it?
It was, initially it was like right away, so we're sharing, so hey, let's stop it, and then we start peeling onions, because you don't want to overreact. Because what we didn't know at that time was that done automatically? Did our vendor Flock did something? So start peeling all those things up there. But sometime in the last month or so, the picture became really, really clear that it really was all self-inflicted. It was nothing to do with anybody else. All vendors do things to make it easy for other people to make the technology use easy, but really we couldn't look at anybody else other than us. So even if they have something that we don't agree with, if he had done what we were supposed to do, this would not be happening. So it really was about the last 30 days or so that it became really clear that we didn't know it was a problem, we had a massive issue.
And so this is a problem with this individual is addressed immediately as you learned.
It still takes it took about a month from that time to where we are today. So maybe end of March, beginning of April, I don't remember the exact date, but you also want to be thorough, because what you don't want to do is jump to any conclusion one way or the other. But the more we kept looking at, kept peeling the onion back to say, was it us? Was it the system, or was it just incompetence or laziness?
So based on the internal review, you can confidently say that this person, it was a user error, or
Well,
this
absolutely.
person was not following procedures.
Absolutely, it's user error. It's nothing more than that. Because we shut things down like right away as soon as we found out, right? So there's no it's user error, because all I did was hit a toggle button saying, nope, no sharing, and then we were done. That happened in November, but we didn't know the extent of some other things that were already in place that didn't prohibit them from looking at some of the data that we had, especially the automatic enabling that had occurred that we didn't know until recently, and that's why some of the dates that you see are more recent, because the more we looked into it, we're like, well, how is this somebody still accessing our stuff? So we ended up looking at it, and that's what it was. So it was definitely user error. It's not a system issue. It's us issue.